according to all of covering different types of topics which are of the interest of students who are willing to do something in the field of innovation, entrepreneurship, and startup. And as you know, presently the government of India is also focusing and emphasizing on the importance of startup and entrepreneurship in different sectors. That's why IGNOU has also taken this initiative now, firstly to motivate and inspire our students. Basically, in this series, we are trying to make our students aware of the concepts, importance of the entrepreneurship and startups, so that they can be motivated, they can take some initiative in this direction, and results are also visible at IGNOU, that we can say. As a result of last few years' activities, which the National Center for Innovation and Distance Education has been doing in this field, we can see the number of students are coming forward to take initiative in the field of startup and entrepreneurship. They are taking their own. We are providing them different kind of training, different kind of guidance, different kind of mentoring and handholding also from time to time. And during our interaction with the students, we always come across the certain topics like if I'm interested to set up my startup, how to go ahead, what are the first stage, second stage, and how to register company, how to get funding. Different kind of queries are basically they are coming into the mind of our students. Though we have been organizing various kinds of programs, sessions on different stages, what are the basically difficulties and challenges which normally the students face in this entire journey. I hope you will be focusing on that. And this session, it will be good to be interactive, good to be something which is not monotonous kind of thing, that will help in understanding the concepts in a better way. And as we were discussing just now, the next part of this session, because this session is going to be very longer, so we would like to have in the coming Facebook Live on any of the Friday, maybe the next or next to next Friday. So with that note, I would like to once again welcome you, Dr. Bhaskar, and all the participants who have joined us here through Google Meet as well as through Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Thank you very much to all of you, and over to you, Dr. Momita, for further proceedings.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma. Now I would request Dr. Bhaskar Gupta to take today's session titled Planning for Startups and Viable Funding Opportunities for Early Stage Entrepreneurial Ventures. Dr. Gupta, please.
Thank you very much. And I would like to thank you all. Good morning to one and all present here for attending today's session on mainly how we can plan for the startups and how can we go to finance our startups and viable funding opportunities available across the country for our startups and young business ideas. So that is I am going to talk about in today's session. Before I start my session, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Dr. O.P. Sharma, Director, National Center for Innovations in Distance Education, Dr. Momita Das, Assistant Director, and NCIDE. I would like to especially thank to the students community and teachers fraternity who are attending today's session on how to plan for a startup, but mainly in early stage business, So I am going to present and hopefully, just let me present. So let me just tell you, let me begin with what is a startup. Startup is a young company founded by.
Presentation is not visible if you have started presentation.
No, I am just orally discussing right now.
That's fine.
So startup, what is a startup? Startup is a young company founded by one or two, young people or entrepreneurs in order to develop some unique product or unique service, business unit, own enterprise. And you must be knowing why have these startups gained so much popularity, and exponential growth in the past decade, the reason is very simple. The people and the students community normally aged between 80 and 36 years, they want to start their own startups, own business units, because they want to quit their monotonous job. Mainly they are, they are getting bored with this monotonous job. They want to start their own business. They want to be the boss of their enterprise or the company started by them. Because if you are working somewhere in an organization, you are still an employee. Your money matters. After all, the ultimate goal of running a successful business unit units. Startups are present around us in different forms. These are the social startups, scalable startups, small business startups, large company startups, viable startups. So you can think of opening any kind of startup in which you feel interested. And you have to think that you have to work towards the sustainable development. Already 17 goals are there for sustainable development. Your startup should also address the problems of those 17 goals which have been defined under sustainable development. You have to work with indigenous, ideas, innovations, and technology. You have to work towards the development of unique product, some unique process, or it could be a unique service. It could be an e-commerce related startups. So I would like to tell you, my dear friends, students, that we all have passed through a outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, and you will be glad to know 42 unicorn startups were born in 2021 itself. Out of 84 unicorn startups in the past decade. It's a great thing for all of us that during COVID-19 gave birth to these 42 unicorn startups in 2021. And we are all expecting, Honorable Prime Minister of India is expecting that by 2023, this number will definitely go high and we would be able to achieve more than 100 number in terms of unicorn club, and most of the young companies would be able to turn their status from a normal startup to the unicorn startup. In fact, number of unicorn companies are around us. I would like, the most three popular, companies which became unicorn companies in past couple of years have now become decacorn. They have joined decacorn clubs, which means that any company whose valuation is over $1 billion annually is termed as unicorn startup. So those three companies have already crossed that valuation. The valuation of the company crossed, and they have reached now up to $10 billion valuation is there for these companies. I would like to name those companies so that you can learn something. It is about Byju's, Paytm, and Oyo Rooms. These are the three important decacorns present in India who have successfully started their venture a decade back. It took a long time. It took many years in getting this particular decacorn status. First, they acquired a unicorn status, and thereafter the decacorn status. There is no other company, just like, you must be knowing Airbnb, which are providing accommodation related facilities, are the most popular, unicorn startups in the world. You must be knowing Misho, Upgrade, Grofers. These are the recently developed businesses in last year only. The Upgrade, Grofers, Misho, these companies got a unicorn startup status in 2021 itself. So there is no limit to what you can envision, and it is all about innovation. If innovation is missing, you cannot successfully run your startup. Many startups were started in past decade, but not all successfully worked. Most of the startups failed because of lack of proper knowledge of technical skills. scientific skills, innovation was missing. Their philosophy couldn't work properly. They couldn't capture the market segment properly. They failed in commercialization of their technology or the product they developed during the innovation life cycle. So innovation is very important along with the critical and creative skills. So innovation happens whenever someone is going to improve on or is going to make a significant contribution to the existing product or process or the service. So conversion of your knowledge into wealth is known as innovation. Innovation is defined as a very complex process. Even defining innovation is very problematic. So innovation happens around us in different ways. We have been using, incremental type of innovation since last many years, many decades, which is a kind of, a gradual kind of process, a simple continue process where you are going to upgrade your product in a gradual manner. So this is not expected. This we really don't want these days. In order to support our startups, we really have to think about some different kind of innovations which are existing in the form of radical innovation, disruptive innovation, architectural innovation. I would like to give you, one example of, radical innovation. It is about technological breakthrough where you are going to make use of new knowledge, new skills, new ideas, new philosophies. There is a complete use of new technology. So then there comes a role of, this radical innovation where the people from different background and varied backgrounds are going to collaborate with each other in order to find a solution to the innovative, some design challenges, problem challenges. So during this radical innovation, just like you just take an example of light emitting LED bulbs, now we all have been using LED bulbs in offices, in our homes. So in earlier days, we were using incandescent lamps. So this is a complete, technological change. We shifted from, LED, these incandescent bulbs to LED bulbs. This is a very classical example of radical innovation. If you are going to make some, minor changes or major changes related to the design of the product, then it comes under architectural innovation, which really, which really matters a lot for any successful startup. So you have to think in this particular direction. We have to make use of disruptive innovation. Most of the startups are based on disruptive innovation, where we are going to disrupt the existing market by using scalable business models with high potential. In order to create, we have to create the wealth and employment also. That is the ultimate goal of establishing a new business unit. And if you so this is all about, things. So your startup has to work along with the creativity, innovation, some, new technological breakthrough. Otherwise, you cannot expect your, more financial gains, more rewards will not be there. And you have to be a moderate risk taker, and you have to finance your own business in the initial stages of your business. No more, investors will be there. It's a more challenging job to start a new startup. A couple of years back, I started my own business unit. I discussed with my friends, I have to start a startup. I am a successful startup founder. I am running my own startup with Foodie Services India Private Limited, which is working towards the, providing food services in the different areas. We are manufacturing food products. So we have not reached up to that level. I'm not saying we are a unicorn startup, but really we are earning a lot of wealth has been created, and we had been able to create the employment also. Several people we have employed. A big team has been recruited by a group of people involved in my startup. So let me just start with my PPT now. So I think this is visible to all of you.
Not yet.
Is it now?
No.
Is it now visible?
It's visible but not showing properly. You put it on, you select that file which you want.
It is showing like this only, sir, from my laptop.
Slide is not visible to us. That's it.
Just stop sharing.
You can mail it to us so that we can share it from our end.
Yeah, I'm mailing. I'm mailing to you, Momita Das, sir.
Yes, please.
I have mailed it.
Okay. So in the meantime, you'd like to continue with your thoughts?
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
So I was talking about, the different kinds of startups. So dear students, if you want to start your own business unit, your own, entrepreneurial venture, because opening startup is a dream for every entrepreneur these days. And once you are going to start your own business, you are going to succeed only when you would be able to attract the investment from outside besides your own pocket before you get off the ground. So that is one of the important challenges, in running a startup, because in the beginning phase you won't be able, no angel investor, no venture capitalist, no more successful entrepreneurs, no incubators, no accelerators, no research park are going to give you the grant, because they really want to look for something, what you have developed. Actually they want to look into the, something innovative into your product. They want to compare your product with the existing products in the market. If you are going to launch some already existing product into the market which is not going to address the needs and wants of the people, so your startup will fail. So the most important thing is behind starting a startup is to take the customer feedback. You have to validate your idea, you have to validate your prototype, which has to be a minimum viable product which you can think of launching into the market for commercialization. And you will definitely be able to attract the attention of the customer. If your product is really, technologically feasible, you have to think about feasibility and commercial viability also. Before you are going to launch your product, you are going to have your e-commerce website. You can have, different sectors are there. So I am going to talk about agnostic, sector, where most of the sectors are being covered. And you must know that during COVID-19, e-pharma and, healthcare sector, dominated mostly, because this was the COVID-19 time, and there was a demand of such kind of successful startups which could work in the direction of providing facilitation support to the patients sitting remotely. So mainly those startups worked in the area of development of medical devices, telemedicines, and of course some medical services at the remote locations. So most of the startups were based on this healthcare sector. I'm not saying you have to be confined to that particular sector, but you can think of other sectors also. You can address the problems of environment and social problems. You can think of scaling up your startup with the government agencies also. Thanks to Prime Minister Modi ji, who started and launched the Startup India, scheme, in 2015 with Arun Jaitley ji, and they launched this particular scheme to finance the young companies and young startups in view of to nurture the innovative and entrepreneurial ventures. So that is the purpose. The government has been struggling, has been working very hard to promote the culture of innovation and entrepreneurship among the students all across the country. In view of that only, I would like to inform you, the startup funding, seed funding scheme is started recently last year, maybe in the month of April or May, by Piyush Goyal, the minister related to this field, already launched the seed funding scheme in 2021, where they are going to provide a seed capital to young startups and young entrepreneurs towards the commercialization of their products or developed prototypes. That is basically, I would like to tell you, the government is not focusing mainly on service startups related to the commerce and the trade. So most of the funding is given to the technology startups as per the government policies. So you once you are going to attract the seed funding or the grant from the Startup India, your company must have been registered as a private limited company or a partnership firm or limited liability partnership firm, LLP. This is the very first condition. Any startup, if going to apply for a grant, then you have to pass the eligibility test. So this is one of the criterias. Your startup, should not be in existence for more than 10 years since its incorporation. So once you are going to hire some legal firm or chartered accountant, you can start your own startup. You can register it as a private limited company or LLP or a partnership firm. And having got registered as a private limited company, my startup is a private limited company, then you can go for the Startup India program, and your startup must be in existence not for than 10 years. Your annual turnover should not exceed 100 crore rupees for any of the financial years since its incorporation. And you must remember, the startup formed by you should not have been formed by splitting up or reconstruction of any existing business unit. These are some important criteria which will make you eligible to apply for a grant for the Startup India program launched by our Honorable Prime Minister. You can also go for seed funding scheme launched by Government of India last year itself, seed funding scheme. So number of schemes, Mudra Bank loans are there. So I have already told you, the startups are always requiring some innovative ideas. Your sequential planning is very much important. You have to plan the activities. You have to be a team worker. Startup founders are actually have to be the they have to lead a team, rather than they are not exactly the owner of the program. Rather than becoming an owner of the business unit, they have to work in a team. So they are going to lead the entire team in a particular strategic direction. So you have to attract a lot of investment also for running your successful business units. You have to focus on emerging trends in current technological areas, which are the emerging trends on which you have to focus. Based on that only you can think of starting your own business unit. You have to make use of some kind of resources. So you have to find the different resources from which you are going to attract the finance. So funding is very important part for any startup. Strategy is very important, and of course you have to think about a product which you want to develop as a part of your startup. So there had been a number of successful startups around the country, around the world. Since a decade, there are more than, how many startups have been started after 2015? More than 60,000 startups are registered with Startup India program across more than 600 districts. This is the success rate of launching this Startup India program. I'm not saying all those registered startups have acquired the status of decacorn or unicorn or Silicon Valley or whatever it is, but 60,000 startups were registered, and 42 startups were born in 2021 itself as a unicorn and having a valuation of over 1 billion US dollar. And they have really, so India has emerged as third largest ecosystem for the startups globally. So we should be very glad that India is the third largest ecosystem in startups. And I would like to give you a very small example of a small country located in Middle East. If you look at our global innovation index, so we were lying, India ranks 46th now in global innovation index by World Intellectual Property Organization. India ranks 46th in global innovation index. So definitely there had been a tremendous change in technology, in number of startups. There had been 7 times increase in the number of investors, 9 times increase in the number of startups since 2015 itself. So that's a significant improvement in the startup ecosystem, and that the government is also looking after very carefully. That's why number of schemes have been launched in order to nurture these budding ideas which are in the initial stages of the business. Not just this, the one more Nidhi Prayas scheme is there on which the government is working on, from where you can take the funds in order to run your business successfully. Not just this, Atal Niti Aayog Atal Innovation Mission is there, under which number of Atal incubation centers were started in last couple of years. I am in touch with one of the best Atal incubation centers in my own surrounding with BeamTech. Incubation center is there. We have already collaborated with BeamTech Atal Incubation Center in order to promote the culture of innovation and entrepreneurship, this startup ecosystem in our premises. 5 startups are started in my own college by students. Students have started their own startups. Of course, we are providing a funding support to all the students in the beginning. Later on, the equity has been defined based on the profit margin. That what would be the equity share between an institution and the startup founders. I would like to tell you the very young startup founder, you must be knowing Oyo Rooms founder Ritesh Agarwal, is a college dropout student. You must remember, students, opening a startup doesn't require any kind of scientific skills, scientific knowledge, or any particular qualification. So it doesn't require any such kind of things. But What it requires a lot of innovation, a lot of skills, that attitude, aptitude, skills, that kind of behavior, that kind of strategic skills, marketing skills, and technical skills. So Ritesh Agrawal, you see, couple of years back started his business with Oyo Rooms, which was started as a very one room or two room company. Now you can think of Oyo Room has already acquired a decacount status around the world. Not just this, you see Misho. Misho was started by the founders of Misho is an online platform providing an online services related to the grocery items and all that. Misho did not have any kind of inventory with them, but they started with online platform, and now again Misho has come under the category of unicorn startups in 2021. And who were the founders of Misho Corporation? You know, IIT Delhi graduates started Misho startup a couple of years back, and it took 5 to 6 years to get their unicorn startup status. And last year, Misho upgrade Grofers have acquired unicorn status, and a lot of companies are there: Snapdeal, Zomato, and we should not forget the name of Uber. Ola, Uber, we have been using, all of us have been using Ola Uber services. Uber has been successfully, implemented their policies, and Uber is now one of the emerging startups in the world, not in India. So Uber is coming in as a decacount status, has acquired decacount status, Airbnb, and different other companies. So I would like to tell you, if this doesn't require any kind of qualification, it requires your attitude, your passion. You have to be very passionate. You have to be a great thinker. You should have that attitude that I have to do it. You should have better marketing skills, better marketing strategies. You should have team building skills. You see, you should have critical thinking skills also, along with creative thinking skills. Of course, design thinking skills are equally important. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. So, so 42 Indian startups have entered the Unicorn Club in 2021. A whopping 42 startups have already made it to the list within 12 months of 2021. India has already witnessed its first health tech, social commerce, crypto, and e-pharmacy unicorn this year. I have already discussed that most of the startups are related to healthcare industry. In the last decade, India has seen, in the past decade, total of 84 startups were there who acquired the status of unicorn. So till now, we do have 84 startups having unicorn status. I would like to tell you, this is the dream for any entrepreneur. If you really look at the Global Entrepreneurship Index, I don't know how many of you are aware of, Global Entrepreneurship Index 2019 survey was there, in which India was ranked at 68th position with a Global Entrepreneurial Index 25.1. And in that survey, and United States of America is the is topping in this particular list based on Global Entrepreneurship Index with the 85.1 value. So you must see that Israel was also there in that list. Israel, is such a small country in the Middle East, is popularly known around the world for best military services. Israel is a very small country compared to India. Why is Israel getting so much popularity, so much exponential growth? In the area of innovation, in the area of entrepreneurship, in the area of startup ecosystem. Why should we not learn from Israel? Why should we not learn from those small countries? It is only about their attitude, their behavior, which Israel has really been able to inculcate in their students from the beginning. So many startups have emerged from Israel itself in past 1 or 2 years, compared to 42 unicorn startups established in India. That's a very small number compared to Israel. If I'm talking about global innovation index or global entrepreneurship index. So we should not forget. So where we are, where something is missing there. What is missing? Something which we have not been using is technological breakthrough. Innovation is missing. Design thinking is missing. Technology readiness level scales are missing in our startups. We simply, once we are going to work as a founder of a startup, we just think, okay, I have to produce this particular product, we have to develop this product and commercialize. So a lot of strategies are there which we have to follow for a successful startup. Definitely, if you are going to plan for opening a startup, you have to start with design thinking concept only, where we have to empathize with others. We have to express our empathy and compassion towards our end users and customers. We need to understand our user needs and wants. Based on their needs, once we have identified their needs, we have to think of idea generation. That's a problem identification. So once your problem has been identified based on empathy, you are going to have a suitable problem statement which needs to be addressed by your product or prototype or your process. So once you have identified a particular problem related to the customer, you have to go for the ideation. Ideation refers to idea generation, and there are different kinds of ideation techniques around us, which includes brainstorming sessions, smart India hackathons, conclaves, conferences, where radical collaboration takes place. People are going to meet each other and is going to find out some innovative solution to these particular problems. Once the ideation session will be over, you have come out with your innovative ideas. Now it's the time to develop your product in the form of the prototype, which must be a rough prototype first. And after that, you are going to convert your prototype into minimum viable product, which is to be finally launched into the market for the commercialization. So you have to test your prototype by taking feedback from the customer, your end users. You are either through the Google Forms or Google surveys, because this time most of the work is carried out in online mode. So you can have some feedback survey from your customers about your prototype, and then you have to reiterate it. Pivoting is to be done, reiterating, and after reiterating, we would be able to turn our prototype into a real product. Once the testing and evaluation part is over, startup founders would be able to launch their actual product into the market, and that I am damn sure your startup will not fail, because you have followed that particular design thinking strategy prior to starting your own business unit. NASA has been using design thinking. Where design thinking came into the picture, those became successful startups. I would like to give you a number of examples where design thinking concept has been applied in a very proper manner. Toyota, Toyota is not failing. Toyota is gaining popularity with each past day. Toyota has been successfully implementing that design thinking process, iterative process at their production units, production sites. And not just this Apple Corporation, American multinational company. There is nobody in this universe who is not knowing Apple Corporation. This year only Apple crossed $3 trillion, market cap, and has become the largest company in the world by valuation. And Apple is always has been using, some kind of, incremental innovation, because they are sustaining in the market since a long time. And this was started also as a small company, and thanks to Steve Paul Jobs, who looked after this company and used a punchline, think different. That's the punchline of Apple Corporation, think different. The philosophy of Steve Jobs was entirely different. He worked on finding an innovative design. He didn't waste his time in finding the competitors. He said, I will not look at my competitors, what they are actually doing for upgrading their products or services. I have to work with my design. And that's why, my dear students, you must be knowing Apple iPhone is gaining popularity these days, and since last many decades, this is a dream for all of us to buy an iPhone for student or for anybody. Why are you paying that much high amount for purchasing that iPhone? May I know from you, why are we purchasing? If I do have, Samsung electronics is also equally better if I'm going to compare it with Apple design, because Samsung electronics is also using design thinking concept related to the design of the mobile phones and mobile devices. Because Apple mobile phone looks very simple, but design is very unique. See, so Steve Jobs has already defined that the innovation is it is not about how it looks, how it works, but it actually, how you are going to look it. That is the design. That is the design of the product. They have to work about how it looks. So that is the innovation in the design of any product. So Apple is successfully working with design thinking concept. Not just this, Samsung Electronics is there. Then you have Microsoft, corporation is there. Nike is there in shoes. I am talking about the particular design relevant to the shoes. Nike is successfully using design thinking concepts at their production sites. Bank of America is there, have been successfully using design thinking concepts. So there are a number of companies who had been able to run their business successfully and became unicorn with the help of these some strategies. If you are directly going into the market, you are going to be a founder, you have incorporated your startup. So I think you won't be able to take it to the furthermore, and your startup or your idea will actually die at the later stage. So it will not be a sustainable growth. So at this rate, India will manage to get more than 100 unicorns is our target by 2022. And of course, we do have 84 startups, unicorn startups till now, and we would be able to achieve that status by 2023 very soon. So if you look at a few Indian startups that have entered the Unicorn Club in 2021 are Innovator, Misho, Infra, Farmeasy, Grow, ShareChat. These are few unicorn companies. So startup I have already defined, is an entrepreneurial venture or a new business which you want to open, which you want to start with your own pocket, from your own pocket. Initial funding will be from your own pocket, but you should remember you have to make use of some scalable business models. You have to make use of business model canvas. You have to make use of lean canvas. You have to make use of technology readiness level. I would like to tell you that NASA, NASA developed this TRL scale a couple of years back, and they used it. This term is used in the context of military technology readiness levels, and these scales have been defined from 1 to 9, with 1 being lowest and 9 being highest. So in order to define the maturity of the technology, so this was first time used by NASA, and after that a number of companies have been using this kind of readiness level, which is technology readiness level, manufacturing readiness level, by this John Deere company, British Petroleum, Google X, and many government agencies also have been using technology readiness levels, to define their, technologies on their path to commercialization, which takes time. But you must know, I just would like to focus on some of the schemes, So this is about startup. Startup India, you are going to have, I have already discussed, the process of recognition. You can apply for a grant with Startup India, but you must first register. You have to incorporate your startup as a private limited company. or a partnership firm, limited liability partnership firm. The process of recognition as a startup shall be through an online application. And you must remember, once you have got your incorporation certificate from your legal firm, you have to get recognized from DPIIT, which is a Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade. Once your startup gets recognized by DPIIT, your startup would be able to get funds from the incubators also. Incubators also do have number of angel investors, number of both Indian and foreign venture capitalists, successful entrepreneurs. So you have to collaborate with these incubators. And under the seed funding scheme launched last year, one startup can now apply to 3 incubators simultaneously. So incubators will help you out in providing the mentoring support, would help you in providing seed funding capital, seed capital, providing you networking of angel investors, providing you co-working spaces for a limited period of time. Initially, co-working space is given to startups for around 2 years in the beginning, and after that, equity, share is there if your startup success rate is high in that case. So we expect that during these 2 years, your startup will lead to a success, and your startup would be able to generate the revenue, and your startup must have commercialized the developed product into the market. So that is the expectation from the any incubator or accelerators. And if we are going to apply in Startup India, initially, if your startup or incubator is dealing with is working as a technology incubator or technology startup, so for any technology startup, the state startup schemes are there, seed funding schemes, in which maximum upper limit of funding is 15 lakh rupees to any startup, which is given for the commercialization of the developed product, and which is the minimum viable product. If you are applying as an incubator in Startup India, the maximum funding is up to rupees 10 crores, which includes the physical facilities, lab facilities, physical infrastructure, and resources. So in that case, 10 crore rupees can be easily granted to your incubator or accelerators. If no lab testing facilities are required, no physical infrastructure, no lab requirements, in that case, your incubator can be granted an amount of rupees 5 crore under this scheme of Startup India. If you are applying as a startup, then it varies from state to state. So, but maybe in few lakh rupees. You can also go for the other Mudra Bank loans. SIDBI is there, and I told you angel investors are there. Nidhi Priyas scheme is there, and MSME is also there. Then you have to register your startup with MSME also. Your legal firm will also help you in getting your startup registered with MSME, the Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. And once you get registered with Udhyam registration, that registration is called Udhyam. So once you have incorporated, you have got a certification from MSME, you are automatically going to have a certification from District Industries Center are there, DICs. They are going to provide you support at the local level. So your startup can also approach DICs for the funding support and with the support of local MSMEs. You should not forget the government is providing you 3 years exemption from the tax under ATC. So if you are running a successful startup, it doesn't matter. You have just incorporated your startup. Under Startup India, the government is not charging any kind of tax from your business. You are out of that. Tax has actually been exempted under 56 article and ATC. You don't have to pay any kind of tax for 3 years, and a lot of benefits are there along with the financial support from the government of India. You have to be a very successful startup founder. So in order to become a successful founder, you should have some personality traits. You should have those kinds of characteristics within you which are going to make you successful founder. You should have some very clear vision, and for achieving that vision, you have to define your path in terms of missions. You have to do SWOT analysis about your strengths, weakness, opportunities, and challenges in front of you. You have to be very passionate. If passion is missing, I have already told you, no qualification is required for running any startup. You should have marketing skills, business ideas in your mind. Along with, you have to be a moderate risk taker. You have to be passionate. You have to grab the opportunities lying in front of you, and you have to turn those opportunities into your business only. You must have team building abilities, because a vast team will be there. You have to coordinate with all team members successfully. That skill is very much required. You have to be goal focused. You have to focus mainly on your goals. You should not be afraid of anything, because you have to be a risk taker. So you are going to be very resilient. Psychological resilience is very important for a successful startup founder. You are not going to take care of, you are not going to be afraid of anything what is happening around you. You are coming out of that difficulty. That is a part of your psychological resilience. You have to be very humble towards others. You have to listen to others carefully, your team members. You have to be persistent also. Even so many difficulties will be there on your way to success. You have to continue your journey. Ultimately, I would like to use, Thomas Edison used, there is a way to do it better, find it. This is an old saying by Thomas Edison. What does it mean? Innovation is always around you. Only you have to find it. So this is the sentence from the Thomas Edison. If you look at, so many successful innovators are there. Successful, startup founders are there. Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Alexander Graham Bell, successful innovator. So a lot of examples are in front of us, and they didn't remember, any kind of technical qualification. None of them had that kind of technical qualification, but they succeeded only with their passion, because they were crazy about running their business. They knew about business skills, marketing skills, technical skills, and they got a success. So once you are going to apply under this particular Startup India scheme, you would be able to get a substantial amount of funding for running your business and for commercialization of your product or process or services. So I would like to tell you a few funding schemes on which I would like to. So if you look at Startup India Hub, I have already told you, but you do remember, once you are going to apply for your idea, you do have some idea, you should go for copyright or patents also, because otherwise there is a chance that some other person might steal your idea. So you must have proper understanding of intellectual properties. So you have to get your idea or design or your process or product patented first before launching it into the market, because there is no guarantee. Once your product has been launched into the market, some other startup may also copy the design, may also develop the same kind of product, and you cannot claim in that particular condition, you cannot claim that that's my product, that's my design or my process. So you have to be very careful about patenting your technology or your ideas also. I just come to the funding schemes. So a lot of funding schemes are there. So, funding is available by angel investors, I have already told you. But angel investors are mainly going to invest in your startup. Particularly, they are investing in the startups which are in the beginning phase, in the initial stages. And amount of funding is also very less. So because angel investors are usually not going to decide any kind of equity share with your startup, and they are not going into the depth of your working. They just will have an interaction with you. Your startup founders have to present your idea in front of you can easily find from the incubators list, and they would like to look into your business proposal. Once you are ready with your business proposal, they are going to give you the funds for running your startup. Early stage startups rely on angel investors and seed funding. So I have already told you. So you have to look around your angel investors with the help of incubators. So first you have incorporated your startup, you have to register, you have to apply to the incubator in your local nearby area, and incubator would help you out in getting in angel investors. They will connect you to this particular network, and you would be able to get seed amount or capital, working capital from angel investors. You have to invest solely into the entrepreneur with an idea. They are investing with after looking at your idea only. If your idea is technically feasible, then only any angel investor will invest. Why should I invest in your business? I would like to know about your technical feasibility and commercial viability. Otherwise, I will not invest my 2 lakh rupees in your startup. So you have to be ready with your, relevant business idea, pertinent business idea. Otherwise, angel investors will lose their interest in providing the funding support. Doesn't encumber the entrepreneur with any corporate government formalities. Then venture capital is also there, where it is used to scale the company business model. Comes from larger institutional funds. Venture capital focus is on building the sales force and establishing a global presence. So this is somewhat different. Venture capitalist funding is very much different from angel investors. The way they will look for that, and if they think your marketing is better, is they will be comparing it with other competitors also. And in that case, if you would be able to successfully define your marketing skills and strategies in front of VCs, then a huge amount of funding may be provided by VCs to your small budding business unit. And don't forget, venture capitalists are also going to talk you about equity shares, where it may be decided mutually. Maybe it's 10 and 90 and 10% ratio is there in the market. So if you are going to earn some profit from your business unit, then in that case 10% would have to be given to your venture capitalist. And this funding is only for a small amount of time, for up to 6 months, 4 months, 5 months. After that, your venture capitalist would like to see your financial gains, your revenues, your earnings from the business unit. And I am not sure, if your business is not able to generate sufficient amount of funds in the later stages of your development cycle, then your venture capitalist might lose the interest of funding your business unit. So you have to be very careful. Public markets are available, so private funding entities are there in the market, from where you can also take some funds from the managing this. You have to manage your startup, should avoid failures. So never underestimate competition or competitors. So competition is always there, competitors are there in the market. So you have to make a very comprehensive survey of the competitors about your product in the market before starting your own business. Of course, startups are going to serve the need of the market. So idea developed by the startup should always serve the market need. Otherwise, customers are seldom interested in the model they prepare. 42% of startups failed due to this reason. In the past decade, number of startups were emerged in past decade, but very few of the startups became unicorn because of their lack of knowledge of technical skills, marketing skills, and around 42% of companies failed to become a successful startup for that purpose, for that reason only. The startup should be quick to adapt and be innovative. So any startup should have some innovative idea. The proper scalable business models must be used during your business plan, so that you would be able to serve your market, would be able to serve the need of the market. You should have diversified team. The founding team, you should try to develop a minimum viable product on its own. If you have only created your rough prototype and you have directly launched into the market without getting any feedback from your target customers or end users, in that case your startup will fail. Some of the founders will not encourage others to enter into their business. There should be enough workforce diversity to increase the synergy skills also. So what I mean to say, you should have a very diversified team around us once you are going to have some business unit with you and you are working as a founder of the company. A well-rounded team should be formed without any personality clashes. Proper marketing strategy will be there. A well-marketed product can sustain whole business, as seen in the case of many successful ventures. Knowing the target audience and pulling their attention and converting them into leads. So a proper marketing skills and business skills are very much required. I don't need to hire any BTech or MTech students for doing marketing and business and branding of my startup. In fact, I would have to hire somebody who should be an MBA graduate or a BBA, who are having a graduation in business, So that's why, I told you we should not have any kind of technical degrees with us. Startup is mainly focusing on business skills, marketing skills, and that's why you should have a better and diversified team with you, where you have to work on indigenous ideas, innovations, and technology. Pricing strategies, whatever the product has been developed by you, must be very competitive compared to other products. Price wise also, the people are going to compare your product. If your technology, if your design has not evolved in your product, no innovation is there, why should customer pay a high cost for your product? So you have to be very competitive, and you have to compare the prices also. You have to, see process innovation is always going to have cost improvement. So don't forget the name of McDonald's, burgers, pizzas around us. This is a very classical example of process innovation. They have been successfully, using this process innovation by McDonald's. Product innovation is always related to the improvement in the product, while process innovation is related to the cost improvement. So you have to work on all these strategies all together. I think, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Shall I conclude
And
now?
I think you can conclude it for today's session.
Yeah. So I would like to
more
conclude.
than 1 hour.
Right, sir, right. So we can now conclude officially, sir. It is up to you, sir. Over to you, sir.
No, you can wind up, and then Dr. Momita, you can now conclude it, and you can invite some questions or some clarification from our participants. Dr. Momita?
Yes, Dr. Sharma. So I would like to thank our expert today, Dr. Bhaskar Gupta, for that really, really informative session. And I'm sure I would like to urge our students to go and view this talk again in the official IGNOU website for better and more clearer understanding, because sometimes what happens is कि पहली बार ही सुन रहे हैं तो थोड़ा समझने में दिक्कत आएगी, लेकिन सर डॉक्टर भास्कर ने बड़े ही सिंपल तरीके से समझाया है. बहुत सारे कॉन्सेप्ट्स उन्होंने समझाए हैं जो कि बिल्कुल एक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव था ये पूरा स्टार्टअप कैसे शुरू करना है, स्टार्टअप के लिए किस तरह का माइंडसेट चाहिए, किस तरह का एटीट्यूड चाहिए, वहां से शुरू करके और क्या क्या ज़रूरतें होती हैं स्टार्टअप में, उसके बाद फंडिंग कैसे अपॉर्चुनिटीज क्या है उनके बारे में उन्होंने बताया है. सो आई वुड रिक्वेस्ट आवर स्टूडेंट्स टू watch this again. So now I would like to request our participants present here to please give their comments. Or if you have any queries, I would like to invite Regional Center Bhopal had asked a question. Would you like to ask the question here at the moment? Regional Center Bhopal. Okay, let me ask the question here. The question is, what kind of hurdles did you face in the initial years of your startup? How did you overcome those hurdles? And what kind of efforts need to be taken by educational institutions to motivate students? So you might like to start with the first question, Dr. Gupta.
I would like to answer your question. See, number of hurdles I have also faced because I am a successful startup founder. I started my startup 2-3 years back with my faculty colleagues. Mainly the hurdles faced by us is about the branding and marketing, and innovative idea. So that is, once you have identified your problem, say, I would like to tell you, say, one solar based cooler, one prototype has been developed in my own institute. So the students have already founded that startup of their, they are already manufacturing a number of units of that solar based cooler. And the problem usually faced by startup founders is about to find that case nobody is going to give you the funds. So funding is fundraising is one of the important problems in the initial stages of the business. The another important problem is marketing strategies. Appropriate marketing strategy should be used by a startup in order to promote your business. I'm talking about branding. So if branding is missing, branding wise, just like WhatsApp, WhatsApp is having the higher support to our students. And I'm glad to inform you, during my presentation also, I told you that 5 startups have successfully have been founded by my students, and 50,000 rupees, it's a non-government support. We are providing 50,000 seed funding support to our budding entrepreneurs and these new early stage entrepreneurs, their business units. And after giving them 50,000 rupees as a seed capital, we are going to have some review after every month. And after the review, a committee sits and we are going to decide how much revenue has been generated and what they are doing. Based on that, the seed funding is also increased by respective institutions. So it is all about your idea. See, again, I will focus, it is about your idea only. If your idea is not innovative, not creative, nobody is going to finance your venture. And if your marketing skills are not there and you don't have adequate marketing strategy, branding skills, in that case also you would be able to get the funds, but at a later stage in the market your product will fail, and which leads to the failures. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Bhaskar. You mentioned that the issues that you're facing were branding and marketing. So
Right.
can you just briefly tell our students how to go about branding in your view?
The branding
What should be
is,
done for branding?
branding is one of the important aspects when you are running a business, because once your product is not open in the market, people are not aware of your market, about your product, about your process. In that case, definitely you are going to suffer a lot. So you should form a proper marketing team. Some people are hired from outside in order to promote your product, in order to have branding all across the country in the later stage. But initially you can think of promoting your product or process in your nearby surrounding only. just like I am into food services. So we are providing, we have hired, we do have some restaurant in some colleges, canteens we are managing somehow. So in the beginning, we started, promoting our food service in the nearby area. We hired the people who are into the business background. Maybe you could hire some BBA student or a non-technical student also, who should have some better, business skills, collaborate with others. In fact, I have already told during my presentation, incubators, if you are going to apply to incubator would also help you out in the marketing and branding of your product or the process or the e-commerce services.
Thank you, Dr. Bhaskar. We have Mr. Rao Samrat. You would like to ask any question? कुछ पूछना चाहेंगे?
नमस्कार सार्थक सर और बाकी सभी डायरेक्टर साहब एवं यस सर,
प्लीज आस्क योर क्वेश्चन.
यस सर. हाँ सर, मेरा सवाल यह था सर कि जैसे हमारा अगर एक नॉन टेक्नोलॉजिकल स्टार्टअप है, फॉर एग्जांपल जैसे भी आपने बताया कि आपका भी एक फूड सेक्टर में जो है बिजनेस जो है रन करता है.
फूड सेक्टर.
हाँ, तो सर अभी हमारा भी कुछ बिजनेस और मैं भी साथ में विथ माय फ्रेंड्स आई एम गोइंग टू स्टार्ट इन द सच अ फूड सेक्टर. बट सर जब हमारे स्टार्टअप में कोई एग्जिस्टिंग टेक्नोलॉजिकल ब्रेक थ्रू नहीं है, क्योंकि हम लोग जो प्रोडक्ट मार्केट में ला रहे हैं ऑलरेडी द एग्जिस्टिंग प्रोडक्ट एग्जिस्ट्स इन द मार्केट विद डिफरेंट ब्रांड्स. तो सर जब हमारा प्रोडक्ट हम मार्केट में ला रहे हैं तो हमको क्या चीज स्टडी करनी चाहिए उस ब्रांड से कि हमारे प्रोडक्ट को थोड़ा उस पर एक एज मिले. तो मैंने जहां तक देखा कि हम क्वालिटी को बढ़िया कर सकते हैं, बट क्वालिटी के अलावा सर और क्या चीजें करनी चाहिए. एंड सर इसमें एक सप्लीमेंट्री क्वेश्चन है कि जैसे कि फॉर अ न्यू फर्म लाइक मी, अभी हमको तो कोई फंडिंग वगैरह का आवश्यकता है नहीं, क्योंकि हमारा ऑलरेडी फंड्स मेरा बना हुआ है. लेकिन फिर भी सर खुद के भी फंड्स छोटे होते हैं, और अगर हम प्रोफेशनल वे में जाएंगे, जैसे मैंने सब मार्केटिंग एंड लेबलिंग के लिए कुछ जगहों पर कॉन्टैक्ट किया, तो वो लोग 1 लाख, 1,50,000, 1,80,000 यहाँ तक चार्ज करते हैं इन सब चीजों का. तो सर इन प्रॉब्लम से ये होने के लिए सर किस प्रकार का डिजाइन थिंकिंग हमको अप्लाई करना चाहिए कि एग्जिस्टिंग ब्रांड्स तो चले, लेकिन उसके साथ में हमारे भी प्रोडक्ट को थोड़ा एज मिल के इसका भी मार्केट बन जाए.
For that, I would like to answer in such a way that we are already running a startup related to this agnostic sector or food market. So mainly, about marketing and branding, I have already told you, if you would have to hire, some person from outside, because who will go to the nearby places in your surrounding and will promote about your product. That is one way. The another way, how to compete with other existing, brands in the same sector. You can have what strategy I have adopted. I am telling you. We started with Foodie 99. My startup is Foodie 99 A to Z. So 99 means we started our startup with the concept of numeral 9. What does it mean? It really attracted the customers, our marketing skills. What we decided, our directors of the startup decided to make use of numeral 9 or 8 in the last of our price of any product. Suppose you are going to sell samosa, for example, and normally the cost of each one is ₹10 in the market nowadays. So we started working with the concept of 9, samosa at the rate 9, chow mein at the rate 19. We are using this numeral 9. So 9, 19, 29, 39, 49, 59, 99, we are offering a comprehensive, a complete food package at the rate of 99 rupees only, which is, really competitive price compared to the existing brands. You will not get any, full special thali from Bikaner Wala or any other competitors are there. So that is very important, to adopt this kind of strategy. And this really attracted the customers when they looked at 999. What is this 999? So we just told them, you are because the customer want, some price saving also, saving and along with the quality. So we provided the quality and substantial reduction in the price in the beginning. I am not saying you have to keep it same throughout your journey, But in the previous 1-2 years, in order to establish and running your business successfully, you have to, because I told you, we are the moderate risk taker. Any startup founder has to take risk in the beginning, in the initial stages. Later on, you are going to reap the rewards from your own startup. And I told you also, you can make, you if you don't want to invest more into branding agencies, those who are charging very high for advertising, marketing, and you can directly go to social media platforms. There are so many of Startup India. Have you registered with I told you the MITI is there, Department of Electronics and Information Technology website. You can register your startup with MITI. You can approach. Have you approached any incubator in your nearby area?
Sir, till now I have not approached any incubator.
So I am telling you, my startup has been incubated successfully by BeamTech, Atal Incubation Center, where I got a very good amount of funding support from incubator. They promoted my product. They found angel investors for my product. I got my canteen contract, through incubator only. So kindly, I would request you to kindly apply to the different incubators present in your nearby area. Hopefully all your problems will be sorted out by incubator.
Thank you very much, sir, for your kind guidance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. Do we have any other queries or comments from our listeners here today?
If not, then Dr. Momita, we can bind up today's session with
Yeah. If you do not have any other comments, then we would like to wind up today's session. So I'd like to express my gratitude by thanking our expert, Dr. Bhaskar Gupta, for sparing his valuable time to give this inspiring talk today and interacting with our students here. I thank all the directors, the regional directors of IGNOU spread all over India, faculty members and academics of IGNOU for attending today's session. I thank Mr. Rajesh, Head of the Public Information Unit, for providing NCIDE with a Facebook Live platform and ensuring the smooth conduct of this program with utmost dedication. I thank Dr. O.P. Sharma, Director NCIDE, and my colleagues, Dr. Jyotsna Dikshit and Dr. Sujata Santosh, for their untiring support. I thank Mr. Pawan Kumar for extending his assistance in the smooth conduct of this program. So this brings us to the end of today's session. Hope to see you next week. Till then, namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Dr. Bhaskar.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, what is the name of your startup?
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir. What is the name of your startup, please?